Good morning. Today we're looking at chapter 8 of the book of the Revelation to John. And at the end of chapter 7, we had those words of promise that, in heaven, that there was this whole host of those robed in white that had been saved through the blood of the Lamb, and will hunger no more, thirst no more, that all the tears will be wiped away. And then chapter 8 starts. And we've had 7 of the seals broken so far. And so chapter 8 begins with the breaking of the 7th seal. And if you've looked at this, the 7th seal is not what we want to look forward to. It says that there was silence in heaven for half an hour. And I don't know if that means 30 minutes like our time. But for John, it would have been, that would have been. But I remember that it's always, a moment in God's time is like 1,000 years in ours, whatever. But there's a half an hour of silence when the 7th seal is opened. It's, it's setting the drama. It's, you wait for what's going to happen. It's just like at the end of a baseball game or a basketball game, that final ball is hit or that final pitch is thrown, the final shot is taken, and is it going to go in the bucket or not? Is it going to be the game winner or not? The anticipation. A half an hour of silence. Have you ever sat through a half an hour of silence? Man, we're lucky if we make 15 seconds. But a half an hour of silence in heaven. And he saw the 7 angels who stand before them, and 7 trumpets were given to them. And then this another angel with a golden censer came. And a censer is a container or an instrument that's used to hold the incense as it's burned. And most of us in Lutheran churches don't do that, but I've been to a lot of Catholic worship services where they will have this incense burning in the censer, and they wave it around, and you see the smoke going from it, and depending on where you're sitting, you can probably smell the fragrance of the incense. So this angel comes with this golden censer, and he says he's given a great quantity of incense to offer, and with all the prayers of all of the saints. You think about that, all of the prayers. This incense is within all of the prayers. And there's times in the Old Testament when God says, your offerings are a stench to my nose, I don't want them. But here our prayers are being offered up as the incense. And for the most part, we think of incense as a favorable smell, as something that we enjoy. My wife is probably laughing right now because she knows that I'm not real big on scents and on perfumes and those kinds of things, but there are certain odors that we enjoy, and incense is often one of them because we can get it in so many varieties. It's like with the candles and different things we can smell. But then, so the smoke of the incense with the prayers of the saints rise before God. And then the angel took that censer and filled it with fire, and what happened? Threw it upon the earth, and a third of the fire. There was peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and earthquake. There was an earthquake at one of the other breakings of the seals. And so this is devastation coming upon the earth. This is the apocalypse coming. The end times going to happen. And, it's the earthquake and the flames of fire and the thunder, rumblings, and flashes and lightnings and everything that's going on, makes me think of Sodom and Gomorrah when God destroyed them. There was, it was the fire and all came down from heaven, and they were destroyed. But here we have the thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightnings, an earthquake, and the 7 angels make ready to blow their horns. And again, just as we, in that half an hour of silence, we were anticipating, wondering what's going to happen. The first horn blows, and what comes? Hail, fire, mixed with blood, and they were hurled to the earth, and a third of the earth, it says, was burnt up. A third of the trees were burnt up. A third of the world is gone. A third of all of that is gone. The second angel blows his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire, a great meteor comes hurling out of the sky, crashes into the earth, into the sea, and a third of the sea, it says, becomes blood. A third of the fish die. A third of the ships are destroyed that are upon the seas. And, this is one of the things that, they kind of wonder if, like when the dinosaurs were on the earth and there was this huge climate change, did a huge meteor come and strike and land like in the ocean? And if it landed in the ocean, we wouldn't probably be able to trace that yet. But something happened, something cataclysmic, something way out of the ordinary happened that caused this massive change and this ice age to come. When all of a sudden, the giant woolly mammoths they were enclosed in ice, and we find these things dug up in fossils, and fossils way, way deep down in the earth. So there was a massive change, and that's what these trumpets are showing. This is what the revelation to John is, that there's going to be a massive change coming, and it's not always going to be pretty. It's going to be catastrophic for so much. So the second angel blew the trumpet, and something like a great mountain, this huge meteor. And we have, every once in a while, there's a huge meteor or there's something, and we see the comets, the trails of the comets going by through our atmosphere. And that's the only way we see them, is they're going through the Earth's atmosphere. And if one of those is large enough that it could make it through the atmosphere and back down to the earth, that would be the cataclysmic happening this way. The third angel blows his trumpet, and it says a great star fell from heaven, blazing like a torch. A third of the rivers and the springs of the water, and this star is wormwood. A third of the waters became wormwood. Think about that. Wormwood is a plant that grows up, and it's kind of a stinky plant when you drive over it or when you cut it or different things that way. But a third of the waters become wormwood, and it says it was dried up and they were made bitter. This isn't a scent that's pleasing to the nose. The incense that was burnt up was something that was pleasing. The wormwood, not so much. A bitter smell, and everything was made bitter. The fourth angel blows his trumpet, and it says a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, a third of the stars, a third of the light is gone. Here we are, deep into the month of December, and we're nearing the equinox, when the shortest day of the year is going to be upon us here in the northern hemisphere. While in the southern hemisphere, it's getting close to their longest day. But you think about that, for right now here in the middle of North Dakota, say the sun sets, I didn't look for sure, the sun sets at roughly 5 o'clock, or maybe a little bit before 5 o'clock. And it doesn't rise until almost 8 o'clock. So we've got, say, 15 hours of dark. Well, in the middle of June, toward the summer equinox, the sun rises at 5 in the morning and goes down at 10 at night. We've got, 15 or 16 hours of darkness. Of daylight, rather, I'm sorry. So you think about the difference from what we have for daylight in the middle of the summer to the daylight now. There's a lot of difference in the hours. But it isn't just that we have a longer night. It's that even during the middle of the day, the light is going to be 1/3 of what it is. And you think about that on the day when the clouds are the heaviest and the thickest, in the middle of a thunderstorm that it doesn't seem like there's any sun coming through. And that's probably about what we could imagine for light, at any time of the day, and even less at night. It's not a pretty picture that we're seeing here in this 8th chapter of Revelation, and it's going to continue through chapter 9 as well. So that the fourth angel had blown the trumpet, and then I looked, and I saw an eagle. And the eagle is the emblem of our nation here in the United States. We see it flying free. We see it in all of its majesty. And, the only bird that will pick on an eagle is a crow. And a crow may land on the back of an eagle, and the eagle just kind of seems to ignore it. But what does it do? It goes higher and higher and higher up into the atmosphere until there isn't enough oxygen for the crow. So the eagle knows how to take care of itself. The eagle knows what to do. But anyway, the eagle comes crying with a loud voice, "Woe, woe, woe," he says. to the inhabitants of the earth at the blasts of the other trumpets. So think of the devastation we've seen so far of the earth with these first 4 trumpets. You know, it's not pretty at all. And then the eagle comes and says, beware, look out. You know, there's more to come. There's more to come. Beware of the last 3 blasts of the trumpets that these last 3 angels are about to blow. So we've had, you know, so far in Revelation, you know, we've seen heaven. We've seen God on the altar. We've seen the 4 beasts around. We've seen the 24 elders. And the thing we need to always remember, that in the midst of all of this is the Lamb, Jesus Christ our Lord. And it is Jesus who is opening and breaking these seals. And he has now broken this 7th seal on this scroll. And we're seeing what's coming. We're seeing what's coming. And right now it's looking pretty foreboding for all of us. But always remember that Jesus symbolizes the river of life. So even in this darkest time, even when the sun and the moon and the stars are 1/3 of what they are, even when the seas and the rivers and everything is, you know, just 1/3 of what there was, when there's only 1/3 of the fish and 1/3 of the ships, and, you know, everything is cut by 1/3, you know, Jesus is still the center of attention. Jesus is still our focal point. Jesus is the one with promise. So, God's blessings today, and we'll look at more of Revelation tomorrow.